Now, let's talk about J.K. Rowling before we get into the royal news a bit later. But best-selling author J.K. Rowling has issued a scathing takedown of Harry Potter actress Emma Watson, saying she is ignorant of how ignorant she is. And of course, we'd all remember back in 2020 when Emma Watson and Daniel Radcliffe publicly distanced themselves from J.K. Rowling over trans views. Now, J.K. Rowling has been fearless in speaking up for protecting women's rights, the importance of single-sex spaces. And Emma Watson's speech at the BAFTA Awards in 2020, of course, said she's here for all of the witches, a clear kind of swipe at J.K. Rowling. Now, Emma Watson went on Jay Shetty's podcast On Purpose, where she was asked about J.K. Rowling, and this is what she had to say.
Just don't know what else to do other than hold these two seemingly incompatible things together at the same time and just hope maybe they will one day resolve or co-join themselves, and maybe accept that they never will, but that they can both still be true. And I can love her, I can know she loved me, I can be grateful to her, I can know the things that she said are true, and that can be this whole other thing. And my job feels like to just hold all of it.
J.K. Rowling has hit right back at this in a pretty lengthy post on X. This is part of what she wrote back when the death, rape and torture threats against me were at their peak, at a time when my personal security measures had to be tightened considerably and I was constantly worried for my family's safety. Emma had just publicly poured more petrol on the flames. Like other people who've never experienced adult life uncushioned by wealth and fame, Emma has so little experience of real life. She's ignorant of how ignorant she is. She'll never need a homeless shelter. She's never going to be placed on a mixed-sex public hospital ward. Her public bathroom is single occupancy and comes with a security man standing guard outside the door. Has she had to strip off in a newly mixed-sex changing room at a council-run swimming pool? Is she ever likely to need a state-run rape crisis centre that refuses to guarantee an all-female service, to find herself sharing a prison cell with a male rapist who's identified into the women's prison? I wasn't a multimillionaire at 14. I lived in poverty while writing the book that made Emma famous. I therefore understand from my own life experience what the trashing of women's rights, in which Emma has so enthusiastically participated, means to women and girls without her privileges. Now, J.K. Rowling ends with, Emma is rightly free to disagree with me and indeed to discuss her feelings about me in public, but I have the same right and I've finally decided to exercise it. Look, it's a pretty strong message. I really stand with J.K. Rowling on this. I mean, I've seen some of the abuse that she receives all the time for speaking out about women's issues. She's also constantly labelled transphobic. You know, it's interesting. I want to get your thoughts on why Emma went on Jay Shetty's podcast in the first place, because I would assume that she would know that she would be asked that question. So I would suspect that it was prepared, and she kind of gave this waffly answer saying that I love her. She can say that she loved me.
I think J.K. Rowling has absolutely eviscerated Emma in this post, and it is a writer's piece of writing. I mean, it's an extraordinary piece of writing. Why did Emma go and do this podcast? Look, she said that she did the podcast. She hasn't done hardly any media in the last couple of years, and she's chosen Jay Shetty. She read his book. She was given the book by a friend. I don't know how this was not vetoed, how she'd not made a decision beforehand not to comment on this. The fact she's chosen to enter the fray again either speaks to me of naivety or just the most misguided PR you've ever seen in your life. To think that, look, there is never going to be a smoothing between the two of them. That only can be a private kind of acceptance of each other. And I think J.K. Rowling made the point that after Emma had made the speech at the BAFTAs in 2022, she sent her a one-line private message saying, I'm sorry for what you're going through. And I think J.K. Rowling had sat on that for the last 3 years. And the fact that Emma has now opened her mouth about it and wanted to speak out about it, I think Emma actually wants to be able to say what she thinks, but still love J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling is not having any of it. She is just not going to go there. I also think age plays a part. I think when it started, you know, Emma was still in her 20s in terms of, you know, and J.K. Rowling had grown up with her and Daniel Radcliffe, and I think she would have as the older person, not wanted to attack them publicly. Emma is now 35. I think the fact that she opened the door on this has led to J.K. Rowling coming down and smacking hard.
Let's talk about royal news. Prince Harry and King Charles, of course, they met for less than an hour at Clarence House when Harry went to the UK. First time they'd seen each other in more than a year and a half. And the Mail on Sunday reported over the weekend that Prince Harry's claims that men in grey suits are trying to sabotage his reconciliation with the King. Now, Angela, no further meetings have been penciled in, but they're not ruled out either. Also, Harry's kind of issued a scathing response to reports that his recent reunion with his father, King Charles, was distinctly formal and left him feeling more like an official visitor rather than family. There was a rare statement given to Page 6, a spokesperson saying that the sabotaging remarks are categorically false. What do you make of this?
Look, this is super interesting. Who has leaked? Who has leaked the fact that it's formal, or is it made up? Because I do not believe Harry would have leaked anything after that meeting. It's too fragile and he wants it too much. And that's why he's come out and said, I didn't say this. And there were details, of course, in the report about the exchange of gifts, including that there was a photo given to Charles of Archie and Lily, Harry's children. Harry knows how fragile it is to restore this relationship. And on the very first instance, there's been leaks from this meeting. And all Harry wants is to re-establish that reconciliation. Look, I can fully believe that it was a very short formal meeting. But I don't believe Harry has said as much, unless he said it in passing to somebody who's passed it on. It's unfortunate because we all actually want this old man who's the king, who is struggling with cancer, to have a relationship with his son, and yet the waters keep being muddied all the time. And this relationship is so tenuous and fragile that they can't either sides. Also, the use of the name, the expression "men in grey suits," that was an expression Diana used to use about the palace courtiers. And I think the fact that it's been credited to Harry, that's why he's probably come out and denied it, because it's a direct dig, although of course he did use those words in spares. So look, interesting one to watch there. I do hope they spend more time together.
We'll see. Now, Prince William and Princess Catherine could be heading down under, which would be very exciting for us, with their children. This would be the first time in more than 10 years. Follows an invitation from our Prime Minister Anthony Albanese during his 90-minute sit-down with King Charles at Balmoral Castle over the weekend. Angela, that would be brilliant for us.
We would love it because, as you say, the last time they came here with Prince George, he was a little baby. They were due to come during around 2020, but of course COVID knocked that over. The idea, there's a lot of speculation that this might happen around July, August 2026, which is when the children would have their summer holidays in the UK, and also before George starts high school. So look, I can see it happening. Of course, that invitation is always extended. It is never going to reflect badly on us as a nation to have the most famous people in the world visiting, is it? So I think that's an open invitation. But it's whether Kate, having gone through what she's gone through, would take on the stress and the long distance flight. Also, you have to imagine how much of that would be a family holiday for them if they did bring the kids. I mean, the issues around security, yes, you can go to the zoo and see a koala and you can see a kangaroo, but there would have to be some measure of a family break within that. And we know how difficult that is for them when they try to have a break.
And there's been some concern for dog lovers, I'm hearing, among Windsor locals. Dog owners are furious at this no-go zone around Kate and William's new home after this barrier has been placed and CCTV cameras have been installed to protect, of course, the privacy of royal families, but not everyone's happy about it.
I know, they're going to have to get over themselves because Kate and William are moving house. It means that they need a bigger exclusion zone around that new house. There's a gate into Windsor Great Park, which dog owners used to come in, they'd park in the car park and they'd take their dogs for a walk. That access way into the Windsor Great Park is now been closed off. They were only given a week's notice. They're very upset about it. But the fact is, if the Royals own the park, they, if they decide to move houses, then, your access might be, so you're going to have to walk around to another entrance. I feel so sorry for them.
Finally, before I let you go, The Duke and Duchess of York will not be welcome at the royal family Christmas celebrations. The King is said to be keen to keep the pair at arm's length, making it clear that he'd also like them to be a little bit more discreet when attending family occasions. Is that right?
I don't think we'll potentially ever see them at a Christmas again. I mean, these are what's happened with the Jeffrey Epstein and Fergie, and the fact she was in contact with him after she knew he was a convicted sex offender, and the kind of play between what she said publicly and what she said privately is so damaging. And we saw at the recent royal funeral that William was trying very, very hard not to speak to Prince Andrew. Look, they cannot be there for Christmas. And who I feel sorry for is, of course, their two daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, who have never put a foot wrong, who want to be part of the royal family, who stand up with William whenever he needs, ballast at garden parties and that sort of thing. And then now in the position, do they go to Sandringham, or as Beatrice went last year to Italy, where her husband's family are? But how do you spend Christmas with your family and yet also be part of the royal family? So hard for them. It's a really difficult situation.
Angela Millard, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.